The world first met Sydnie Christmas as the shy, soft-spoken young woman who stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage and suddenly transformed into a powerhouse vocalist the moment she began to sing. Her voice was rich, emotional, and commanding, the kind that instantly grabs attention and refuses to let go. When she performed "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," "Tomorrow," and later, "My Way," she didn't just sing, she told stories with her voice. Judges were left stunned. Amanda Holden called her performance spellbinding, and Simon Cowell famously rated her voice 11 out of 10. Overnight, Sydnie became one of the most talked about contestants of the season. But behind the golden buzzer moment and the standing ovations was a far more complicated story, one filled with fear, resilience, criticism, and an unbreakable love for music. After her rise on Britain's Got Talent, many people assumed Sydnie had already made it. Rumors started spreading that she had performed on the West End before and that she was somehow cheating the system by entering the competition. The confusion largely came from her connection to the musical Starlight Express. People believed she had already been a West End performer, when in reality she had never taken the West End stage. Sydnie had only worked in London and performed internationally, not in the UK's top theatre district. But once that rumor took hold online, it grew fast and vicious. When she tried to correct the misinformation, things only got worse. People accused her of lying. They told her to toughen up. Some even said she had no right to be on the show at all. The hate didn't just stay online. In real life, Sydnie began to feel unsafe. Strangers approached her on the street and criticized her. Older women told her they didn't agree with her being on Britain's Got Talent. She was called a cheat and a fraud, words that cut deeply because they weren't true. Leading up to the semi-final, the pressure nearly broke her. She admitted that the fear wasn't about singing on stage, it was about being heckled, judged, and attacked for things she hadn't done. All she wanted was a fair chance to share her voice. Instead, she found herself defending her character. Still, Sydnie refused to quit. She showed up every week determined to do her best and make people feel something with her music. Over time, she learned to build what she called a shield. The experience, painful as it was, forced her to grow stronger. She met incredible people during the competition, people who supported her when the noise got loud. Looking back, she says she wishes people would understand her real story, that she never lied, never tried to cheat, and never wanted anything more than to sing and make others happy. Music, for Sydnie, has always been about storytelling and connection, not fame. Winning Britain's Got Talent changed everything, but not all at once. After the final, life became a whirlwind of interviews, rehearsals, travel, and opportunities. Sydnie was so busy that she almost forgot about the prize money. One day, she opened her banking app and saw the deposit sitting there, £250,000. Her first reaction was disbelief. She took a screenshot and sent it straight to her family. Then she laughed and said, "Oh my God!" It felt surreal. The first thing she bought wasn't a car or a house, it was a pair of Apple headphones. She had wanted them for over a year but always told herself they were too expensive. Now, for the first time, she allowed herself a small luxury. Beyond that, Sydnie was careful. She planned to invest in her vocal training because she believed her coach from Britain's Got Talent was worth every penny. The rest, she chose to save. She understood that success can come fast and disappear just as quickly, and she wanted to build something that would last. This balance, enjoying the moment but thinking about the future, showed just how grounded she remained despite her sudden rise. Before her audition on Britain's Got Talent, Sydnie worked at a gym to support herself. Even after receiving the golden buzzer and becoming a fan favorite, she kept the job. She still needed the money to cover everyday life while chasing her dreams. Then one day, her manager messaged her, "Sydnie, I think it's time to take you off the rota." The message came with celebration emojis. For her manager, it meant success. For Sydnie, it felt emotional. Leaving the gym meant closing a chapter that had carried her through hard years. She admitted she felt sad, even as she knew it was the right step forward. At the same time, Her music career was moving fast. Sydnie announced the release of her debut album titled My Way, set to drop on September 20th. She planned to record the entire album in just one day in Prague, a bold and ambitious move. But time was tight. The album needed to be ready for her upcoming tour, and she wanted to share her new music with fans as soon as possible. Every song on the album carried her heart, her journey, and her truth. She couldn't wait for people to hear it. Then came the announcement that truly made things real, the My Way tour. Her first ever UK tour would begin on October 5th at the iconic Glasshouse International Centre for Music in Gateshead. From there, she would travel across the country, performing in major cities including London, Glasgow, Birmingham, Liverpool, Sheffield, and more. 14 dates. A national tour. For someone who had nearly given up on the West End dream just a few years earlier, this felt like a miracle. Sydnie said, "After 10 years of trying to make it and feeling like nothing was happening, I was very close to giving it all up. But I couldn't. It means everything to me." Her tour wasn't just about singing. It was about redemption, resilience, and finally being heard. She would perform fan favorites and new songs, showing every side of her voice. The journey from working in a gym to standing on some of the UK's biggest stages was something she never took lightly. Another special moment in Sydnie's career came with the release of her own version of Starlight Express. The show had changed her life years earlier when she saw it in college. She later performed in the German production for 4 years. When she returned to the UK and auditioned for the West End version, she didn't get the role. It hurt, but that rejection led her to Britain's Got Talent, which ultimately changed her life. Years later, she sang Starlight Express with her boyfriend Max Rizzo and posted it online. To her shock, Andrew Lloyd Webber saw the video and gave her permission to record her own version. It was a dream come true. She dedicated the song to Mick Fry, the original skate coach for the show who had passed away, a man who believed in her when she was just starting out. Since winning Britain's Got Talent, Sydnie has been everywhere, on Lorraine, This Morning, Loose Women, and major podcasts. She's shared her story, her struggles, and her hopes with millions. Each appearance has brought her closer to her fans and allowed people to see the real Sydnie, not the rumors, not the lies, but the girl who just wanted to sing and make people feel something. And this is only the beginning. As Sydnie Christmas's name became more recognizable across the UK, the attention around her life grew rapidly. What once felt like a distant dream had turned into a fast-moving reality. Every week brought new interviews, new opportunities, and new expectations. Yet beneath the bright lights and applause, Sydnie stayed rooted in the same purpose she had always had: to tell stories through music and make people feel something real. Fame hadn't changed her heart. If anything, it sharpened her sense of why she started singing in the first place. Her media appearances allowed audiences to see her personality beyond the stage. On Lorraine, she sat beside her 2 grandmothers and talked about her unforgettable audition and what it felt like when Amanda Holden hit the golden buzzer. The moment still felt surreal to her. On this morning, she reflected on every audition she had ever done, the rejections, the waiting, and the years of wondering if she was good enough. She didn't pretend it was easy. She spoke honestly about how many times she almost gave up. These moments of vulnerability made people connect with her even more. She wasn't just a great voice, she was a real person with doubts, fears, and determination. Sydnie also appeared on Loose Women, Mirror Entertainment, and popular podcasts where she talked about the emotional side of her journey. She described what it was like to face public judgment, and how cruel comments online had once made her feel small. But she also spoke about learning to protect herself emotionally, choosing to listen to love instead of hate. Over time, she realized she couldn't control what others said, only how she responded. That mindset became her strength. As her debut album My Way came closer to release, Sydnie poured every ounce of energy into it. Recording the entire album in Prague in just one day was intense, exhausting, and exhilarating. It demanded focus and trust in herself. Every song reflected a chapter of her life, the fear, the hope, the rejection, and the triumph. She wanted the album to sound honest, not polished to perfection but filled with emotion. For Sydney, music wasn't about impressing people with technique, it was about moving them. The tour preparations were just as demanding. Rehearsals stretched for hours as she worked on vocals, staging, and storytelling. She didn't want the concerts to feel like simple performances, she wanted them to feel like shared experiences. Each night on stage would be a conversation between her and the audience, built on truth and connection. The venues on the My Way tour weren't just stops on a map. They represented milestones in her life. London, where she once struggled just to get auditions. Glasgow and Sheffield, cities full of music lovers. Liverpool, a place rich with musical history. Every stage felt sacred to her. The emotional core of Sydney's journey remained her relationship with Starlight Express. That show wasn't just a role, it was where she learned discipline, teamwork, and resilience. When she finally released her own version of the song, it felt like closing a circle. She remembered skating for hours, falling, getting back up, and pushing forward even when she was tired. That same spirit carried her through Britain's Got Talent and into this new chapter of her career. Dedicating the song to Mick Fry was her way of honoring the man who had believed in her long before the world knew her name. Despite the excitement of success, Sydney never forgot where she came from. She talked often about working at the gym and how humbling that time was. It taught her responsibility and gratitude. So when her manager told her it was time to leave that job, the moment was bittersweet. It wasn't just about moving forward, it was about letting go of the version of herself who worked quietly behind the scenes, dreaming of something bigger. That version of Sydney still lived inside her, reminding her to stay grounded no matter how high she rose. The prize money from Britain's Got Talent didn't change her values. Yes, she bought the headphones she'd wanted for so long. Yes, she celebrated. But mostly she saved. She planned. She thought about her future. She knew that success wasn't just about what you earn, it was about what you build with it. She invested in her voice, her training, and her growth. For Sydney, every step forward had to be earned and protected. One of the most powerful things about Sydney's story is how close she came to giving up. 10 years of auditions. 10 years of waiting. 10 years of feeling invisible. Many people would have stopped long before Britain's Got Talent ever came into their lives. But something inside her wouldn't let her quit. Even when the hate was loud. Even when rejection hurt. Even when she felt like nothing was happening. That quiet belief, that her voice mattered, kept her going. Now as she stands on the edge of a full professional career, Sydney sees her purpose clearly. She doesn't just want to be famous. She wants to inspire people who feel unseen. She wants young singers to know that rejection doesn't mean the end. It means the story isn't finished yet. When she looks into the crowd at her concerts, she doesn't just see fans, she sees people with dreams, fears, and battles of their own. Her journey from a hopeful performer to a national star wasn't smooth, easy, or perfect. It was messy, emotional, and full of doubt. But it was real. And that's why people connect with her. Sydney Christmas isn't just a voice. She's a story of resilience, patience, and quiet courage. From skating on stages in Germany to standing in front of millions on Britain's Got Talent, from working in a gym to touring the UK, from being doubted to being celebrated, she has lived every note she sings. And as her album My Way reaches listeners and her tour lights up stages across the country, one thing is certain: Sydney Christmas is no longer asking for permission to dream. She's living that dream, one song at a time.